Alright, today we're going to be jumping back into the Bitcoin price action because price is at a very critical level right now. We did lose the range to the downside all the way below these two sweep levels that I've had in the chart. This is my worst case scenario for a bullish correction, and I do believe we could still be bullish for all my bulls out there. It's not quite game over yet, but the charts are looking a little bit sketchy, and we definitely need to be keeping our eyes on the price right now because volume levels are still above us and we need to reclaim them, such as this volume level I had talked about in my last video. After reclaiming the sweep of this low here, I had said, it looks pretty good for a low coming in, because we had that sweep structure. I was doing my TA when we were having this candle right here. We had the nice support of that sweep level. Getting back above that into the range looked pretty good, but I was saying we needed to flip the value area high back into support. This never got flipped into support. It acted as clear resistance after sweeping these two poor highs within there. And after I saw this, I was posting a lot in my Discord last night talking about these scenarios that could play out and what we wanted to be looking for. Essentially, I said, the lows are poor at this point. We're going to get the sweep of 56.1, and because of the sign of weakness, probably looking to get out on a retracement if we were to get that squeeze up to my big level at 64,500. And I was searching on the charts for what could have caused, the confluence for a continual drop on Bitcoin, and I realized that the Russell was also kind of having this breakdown to the downside if we look here on the hourly time frame, and this thing has just been consolidating, distributing, whatever you want to call it, for the last couple of months here while the S&P has been running into all-time highs. So I think that's something that's been kind of messing up my TA here is that I was putting more weight into the S&P when really I should have just been looking at the Russell, because smart money is treating Bitcoin as a risk on asset right now, not as a true mega cap, even though it does have a multiple trillion-dollar market cap. But that dump was certainly strange as far as correlations with other assets, because we also had the dollar dumping at the same time. I mean, this is one of my bullish confluences for why I expected the low to be in for Bitcoin. It's because the dollar has been dumping. It looked bearish and it continued to dump. I mean, you just see here on the daily time frame a very sharp downtrend here on the dollar, whereas Bitcoin on the daily time frame is following the exact same way. They are certainly not inversely correlated right now, which is extremely rare to see. I'm not sure if I ever have seen this big of a correlation between Bitcoin and the dollar in the recent years. So that's certainly something that kind of threw me off there, but we will talk about the dollar later. There's some big things on the chart here that I want to get into, but let's talk about Bitcoin first, where we are as far as these levels concerned, what we need to hold for the bulls to win this, right? So far, so good. We do have a sweep structure of the low. So even though we lost the range low here into this box that I had, this was marking out the first single print. We actually went into the secondary single print. So you can see here over on the TPO profile, we had two big rows of single prints here. I was looking to potentially tap this first row in the most bearish scenario for a bullish correction. Went ahead and tapped both of them, which is fine. But the fact we even got this low kind of worries me, because now it's hey, are we going to start targeting the rest of our single prints? And this goes down to around 51,750. And once you get down there, you're probably going to target below $50,000, because that's actually your big liquidity node. Not too much liquidity here to actually grab just an imbalance on the charts. This is certainly your bigger level if we were to get down there. This is probably going to get grabbed. I don't really think we're going to have a chance to have a bullish retracement back up into potentially all-time highs after that were to get tapped. Just going to be losing too much structure at that point. Whereas right now we're still technically holding the structure on our daily time frame, although I will want this candle to flip green. As I talked about, these volume levels need to get reclaimed. We are currently rejecting off of them, and not only are we just rejecting them, but we do have some bearish indications on the chart, such as a 1 hour hidden bearish divergence, higher highs on RSI, lower highs on price. And we actually did have this in the charts earlier on, which another thing I noticed after I uploaded the video. So kind of missed this, could cover this yesterday, but yeah, just missed this on the chart. We did have somewhat of a hidden bearish divergence yesterday as well within there on the 1 hour time frame. But even though that hourly and even 4 hour RSI is showing that hidden bearish divergence, our daily time frame still gives us the chance for a 1 day regular bullish divergence coming in here, which could be a huge indication of a pretty substantial bottom coming in here. But this is certainly not confirmed yet. We want to see this daily close green. If it were not to close green, let's just say it closes where we are right now, it'd still be valid, just not quite as clean, and we could even close all the way down to 0 degrees on this trend here. 2 taps of the RSI at the same level is an exaggerated bullish divergence. So certainly could close the candle, a little bit lower down here, but I do definitely want to be holding the sweep levels on our daily time frame. We also have some levels to be looking out for volume wise if we were to just take a fixed range of this uptrend. We have this value area high right here, which is confluenced with that sweep level. So certainly would it not be out of the question to come down, tap that, sweep this low. That would be completely fine and actually pretty bullish to do so. We also have point of control here, which could certainly still be bullish to correct down here. I think you'd still be holding that exaggerated bull div on the daily time frame. So those are kind of levels that we want to hold. If we were to just pull fibs here, right, you always want to hold your golden pocket to 786. Losing that would be a bad sign. We also have what TradingView is giving me as the point of control right here. So yeah, just some levels to watch out for to the downside, kind of worst case scenario. But really, like, coming down to that, that's going to scare me because you're just going to be creating more macro poor lows. I actually wanted this to get a secondary sweep within here. We were building a lot of liquidity throughout here. It wasn't the cleanest low in the world, but if there's a lot of buying pressure, a lot of times it's hard for the market to clean that out. So it's not really the worst thing ever, but if we were to come down here, yeah, you're probably looking to get a sweep with a sweep, and then it's going to be sketchy, right? We really don't want to see that happen. Pretty sketchy if we get down there. We really just want to show strength up in here, hold the value area high, hold the sweep level within here. If we can just get this value area low of our macro range flipped into support, that's kind of your confirmation that we're out of the woods and we're going to have clear skies above us. Let's flip both of these levels into the support. Let's get above these volume levels within here. I really want to see this start flipping into support because we've got a lot of resistance above us right now. And assuming we can get kind of these 4 volume nodes that I have marked out here flipped into support, if we can get above them, get above $60,000, still think very likely we're going to go up here to the retrace to 64.5. But because of this sign of weakness, I will be very cautious at this point that this will be your macro top for Bitcoin. And I do still think we're going to get up there. I have not flipped bearish. I have not sold any of my bags because what I see in the market right now is everyone else has flipped bearish. And when I see the majority being bearish, I am not going to join in with them. I'm not going to expect what they expect. So this retrace up to here makes a whole lot of sense for me. That's the liquidity I've been targeting this entire time. Since we've made these lows down here, since we've shown the sign of weakness, I've expected to get up there, and I still expect to get up there. And I'm still absolutely open to the idea we can flip this into support and go for all-time highs. That's certainly not out of the question. While this correction certainly showed a sign of weakness, getting those lower lows, it is just a wick to the downside, a swing failure pattern, which could just be a liquidity game to get all of those longs out of the market. Because I do know longs were kind of piling on throughout this entire downtrend. So to take them all out, flush the stops from this low, could have been the play. And now we're going to go all the way up to all-time highs, distribute higher. This is where retail is going to get wrong-footed because they're going to have sold down here. They're going to buy back somewhere in this uptrend because they think we're going on a super cycle into 2025. And then we top out once more here, and they go ahead and get wrong-footed up here at the highs. That's still something I think is very likely, but again, a lot of just big volume resistance above us right now. A lot of imbalanced resistance as well. We got some single prints up in this area here that could get flushed and then roll. And this low down here just wasn't quite the best. I wouldn't say it's a poor low, right? The TPO profile still shows a lot of single print tails within there. But yeah, I'm still team bull, especially going to be patient on this daily candle because we have 2.5 hours. If this can close back above the volume levels within that time frame, really got nothing to worry about. That daily bullish divergence is going to be a great sign to see on the charts. And something to say we are going to go to all-time highs is our liquidity maps here. Still so much liquidity to the upside above those all-time highs, just very high liquidity nodes. I know this is all mathematical based. It's not a true liquidity in the order books or anything like that, but it is pretty accurate. So I would tend to believe, assuming price can come up here, it is going to start magneting up higher. And as we can see, we just have to kind of get through this gap above $60,000, right? If we can start reclaiming this range, showing that buyers are stepping in at this level, once those buyers start stepping in and pushing up price, I think liquidity will do the rest of the work, aka a short squeeze all the way up through all-time highs. So this is something that can certainly favor the bulls right now, although I will say we're getting close to that $50,000 liquidity node. I have been saying if we start getting into these lower nodes within here, probably going to start magneting down, and that's why it's so important to actually reclaim the $60,000 level. If we cannot start reclaiming the range and showing bullish structure once again, there is the chance we just kind of roll over now, start hunting down here, and once that happens, not really going to look good for the chance of coming up to the top side and grabbing the rest of this up above all-time highs. But yeah, overall for Bitcoin right now, very similar kind of probabilities to last video, very 50-50, whether the bulls or bears are going to take control. We have gotten that nice sweep, the swing failure pattern onto the daily time frame of the range lows, but we haven't gotten above volume levels. So we just got to watch this like a hawk. Let's see if we can reclaim these levels, and I'm still betting on us going higher, right? I'm still team bull, and that's just because the general sentiment right now has flipped completely bearish with the mountain Mt. Gox news. If you know anything about news events in crypto, they're usually designed to wrong foot retail. We sell off on good news, buy up bad news, and right now we have bad news, so logically just kind of makes sense for this deviation into the range to actually confirm and for us to continue up, at least to grab liquidity higher, to continue up into that good news when that ETH ETF comes out. And then that's where I'll be getting a little bit more worried if we do see euphoria resume back into the markets, later on this month or into the summer whenever that ETF does drop, the Fed cuts rates. I think there's a lot of catalysts for exit liquidity coming in the future, and I think they're going to want to bring up price into those catalysts so they can wrong foot retail once again. But let's get off Bitcoin. I want to talk about the dollar real quickly and then the altcoin market as well. So the dollar, as I talked about, has been dumping here, and we're at a very critical level because we have been making somewhat of a pattern here, right? A little bit of a wedge pattern here on the dollar, lower highs, higher lows, and we are coming in to test this right now. And I've always said I don't really care much for patterns, but we do see this in the charts right now, and a breakdown from this trend would probably put us below these value area highs of the range, and I do actually see a good case to be made that we would go ahead and target all the way to the range lows after breaking down from this sort of trend within here. But we have absolutely no confirmation for that right now. We are still at support on this trend. This could easily come up right now, and that could easily send Bitcoin back into Goblin Town. So we want to be watching the dollar very closely here. Now the altcoin market. I had said if we break this low, we will deviate every other cycle, and it is probably the end of the bull market. And while we certainly deviated where I think we are in the cycle, and I don't think it's going to play out like last cycle, there is actually a case to be made that we are just very early in the altcoin market. We are right here on a fractal basis. You see first low, sweep of first low, then much later on we have a secondary sweep of that low before going on and doing the entire rally of the altcoin market. Is there a chance that that's where we are right now? Looking on the charts here, we have first low, sweep of first low, then we have later on a sweep of all of it. Yeah, I mean, on a fractal basis, you could argue that for sure. I mean, certainly it's taken longer to actually have this play out, but I would make the argument that the bull is not completely over because we've broken this low, and I do still expect, if we can see expansion into the Russell and your risk on assets, certainly not out of the question. We can turn this into a deviation, get back above and then start hunting above. This is the big level you're going to be watching for, like value area low. If we can get back above that, targets are still kind of the same on the altcoin market. I think we could see a replication of this rally we had at the beginning of the year, which would give a lot of great gains for your altcoin market. I certainly don't think it's going to be quite as big as like 2020, though. I'm not really expecting this to play out on the altcoin market. While it's it's possible, I'm not going to rule it out of the equation. If we do get like a super cycle for Bitcoin, it's always possible. But just where the S&P is, what macro indicators are saying as far as when the top's going to come in for that, the risk on assets are not going to continue up if the S&P is falling. So I think our best case scenario is probably going to be just a higher retracement into these fibs, into these previous volume levels from our last bull market top end range. And I still think this is a big possibility. So I'm not ruling this out at all. I don't think this is quite invalidating the setup for this. But once again, we are under support right now. We need to see this turned into a deviation. So far, very 50-50, right? We have gotten a nice wick back up, but we're still kind of sitting back under this. If we go to the hourly time frame, this could potentially flip into resistance, and we could just kind of roll over here and be done for the markets overall. But once again, I'm still team bull. I think the sentiment is too bad right now for this not to get back above and to start wrong footing retail once again. I think a lot of people are kind of selling their altcoins right at this low right here, and if they see the altcoin market come up and make all-time highs once again, they're going to be FOMOing in right at the highs here, and we could just kind of reject off that first volume level. And once again, this is kind of the scenario that wrong foots the most amount of people. The markets kind of like to do that. I think we have a lot of catalyst in the future pointing towards a secondary high, a secondary burst of euphoria before everything rolls over. Still don't think it's quite over yet, but I will be open to anything. We'll take it day by day, hour by hour, because price action does change on a dime. So make sure to join that Discord so you can get updates from me in real time and don't have to wait for these videos to come out. So links to that are in the description down below. Also, you will find links to the BingX event that I have going on right now. If you do want some pretty cool rewards, deposit bonuses, that sort of thing, make sure to go check that out. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.